Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Star Rail. And in today's video, I want to combine a couple of recent videos that I've done and talk about what my plans are and also give some general advice as well, particularly for me as a new player, the new player perspective in terms of what pulls to target in the game in terms of stuff that's coming up. So we'll obviously be referencing my account a bit as well because that does affect things. But yeah, I did this video a while ago, which is looking at my predictions for stuff that is upcoming. Of course, it is predictions, but still, I think it's very likely that, for instance, a lot of these characters are going to come, that these reruns are going to come. So let's talk about, yeah, what am I actually planning to pull? Where's my decision process at right now? By the way, I have a big chunk because I skipped Acheron, which is a bold choice, I know. I have a ton of warp saved up, so I'm going to be very, very flexible here. But yeah, let's see how we're going to break it down. So, first of all, for me, I am definitely going to be pulling for Aventurine. I'm actually probably going to do a whole second video on why I'm going for Aventurine and why he's so strong specifically. But the short version of this for me is certainly as a new player, he would be my first limited sustain character. And he, in particular, looks to scale very, very well with follow-up attacks. And I think follow-up attacks for a new player in particular are a really good, what would be even the word, like team archetype to build around, right? Dr. Racio, we get him for free. So that's a free, really, really strong single target damage dealer with follow-up attacks. So him plus Aventurine, you've got a really good... I'm actually farming for stuff to upgrade his light cone and traces and stuff right now. But relics are a whole other story. Don't at me about relics. Trust me, I know. We're waiting for Trailblaze 65 so we can actually get the best drop quality. But yeah, Dr. Racio, super good single target damage. He's follow-up, synergizes with Aventurine. Something we have to mention as well. We've got, I think, a Topaz and Numby rerun coming up. We'll talk about that soon, but that's obviously top tier follow-up character as well. But for follow-up, even in terms of AoE, right? Herta does follow-up attacks. That's going to synergize with Aventurine, which is, I think, really good for me as a new player for progressing through Pure Fiction. I've seen that you can do Pure Fiction without sustains. I don't think that's going to be possible for me in my account for a long time. But Herta does AoE follow-ups. Himiko has AoE follow-ups, right? Follow-up seems quite broad. There are like the hunt characters, the single target ones like Racio and Topaz, but there's also AoE ones. So yeah, and bearing in mind, we know Aventurine, in terms of the story and synergies there for the factions, Dr. Racio, not IPC, but the Intelligentsia Guild is very much related to IPC, and then Topaz and Numby, they're IPC as well. They are all follow-up, they all synergize. We know Jade is coming. Again, I think that is very likely. She's IPC as well. It's very likely that she synergizes with Topaz and Aventurine. Like, there's a very good chance that she's going to have follow-up attacks too. And future, there's the 10 Stonehearts. There's 10 of them. There's going to be more in the future. So I think Aventurine makes a heck of a lot of sense to pick up. And also his preservation, which is big. I think that they're very good free-to-play. Again, we'll talk about this more in Aventurine video. I think the free-to-play abundance characters are actually great, like Lynx. I've got Bailu. E1, actually. I've got an E1 Bailu, because that is what I've pulled on my account. I got Bronya as well, which is really lucky. But then I've just been pulling Bailus when I lose the 50-50. So... but I got her in like just a 10 pull. It's very lucky actually. But yeah, we got Bailu. Bailu's good. Lynx is good. Gallagher is good. I think the free-to-play abundance are very strong. I don't think that the free-to-play preservation are as strong. So I think getting a preservation limited is very high value. So for me, Aventurine makes a lot of sense. Now, let's talk about sustains then, and we'll come back to the other ones. Fushuan. I think Fushuan is due a rerun. That's another top quality one. Fushuan versus Aventurine, which is better? I think this depends, obviously, a bit on personal preference. My expectation is Fushuan seems quite generalist. In fact, when we did our video on Locha, we saw that she is, by a decent chunk, the most used character for sustain in Memory of Chaos by a pretty big chunk. Then it was actually followed by Locha, and then by Ho-Ho. Fushuan, I think she's very generally strong, right? She increases your team's crit rate and protects you from crowd control debuffs. It's a very solid and reduces your damage taken, right? Keeps you alive. think she's a very strong general character, so that is good. She goes like increased crit rate. Anyone that likes crit is going to like Fu Xuan. I expect her to be more strong in general than Aventurine, probably. Though they'll probably be quite similar. It's not that big of a deal. I think Aventurine is likely to be better for those follow-up teams. And I talked about the value of that. Fu Xuan also fits in very well into Mono Quantum. And funny enough, I do actually have a key part of a Mono Quantum, which is a Sparkle, because I started very soon to Sparkle. And, all the free pulls you get, all the Jades you get as a new player, I picked up the Sparkle. That's how I got the Bailu. Got Bailu instead of Sparkle, and then got Sparkle. That's a powerful Mono Quantum thing right there that I could build around. But at the same time, there's Lynx. Lynx is available as a budget option, so I'm kind of happy, I think, to skip Fu Xuan for now. I think go for Aventurine instead. I think it makes more sense right now. And then potentially could look at Fu Xuan in the future if that makes sense, but we will see. You're kind of in a good spot, even no matter which. I do think it's worth getting definitely at least one limited sustain. I have the strong preference, I think, as a new player, it seems to me, towards a preservation limited sustain. But, Huahua is coming back up again. Luocha will be back around at some point. They might spread these out more, of course. And there's always the possibility for new sustain characters, in the future, before the reruns even come. So it's up to you. Huahua seems very good for deep dot teams, for instance. But she seems like a solid one overall. Lots of cleansing and healing. But yeah, my preference here is Aventurine, and I'm probably going to be skipping the other sustains because of that and focusing on other stuff. Because I did a last video, which is on how many pulls you can expect to get per patch. So check that out if you want to see. Now, looking at DPS. So for me, you've got the sustain question, and Aventurine for me wins out overall. But it may vary for you, and hopefully I've explained it. For the DPS, Jingliu is coming up. Ice Destruction. Very likely we get a Topaz rerun. Boot Hill is coming up as well as a physical hunt. And then Sam is almost definitely coming out, who's almost definitely Fire and Destruction as well. And then we could have other reruns like Zila, Blade. They could have reruns. Argenti is probably not too far off as well. So let's look at those. Again, Topaz is the one that draws my eye, and especially with Sam being Fire, I think there's a pretty big decision point to be made there. Topaz, as a hunt character, is a little less flexible, but she really powers up follow-up attacks, but more so single target, of course. But she would be very good for single target content, so Memory of Chaos and bosses. Not so good at all, though, for pure fiction, which is a bit of a drawback for hunts in general. But if you are going for Aventurine and you've got the free Dr. Racio and you're an early game player, Topaz could be a very attractive choice to really focus in on, if you like them, the IPC and follow-up style teams. And then, in particular, you might be able to, potentially, if Jade comes at the end of 2.3 or even 2.4, Jade is IPC, that could be another good pickup if you want to really go hard into that type of team. I think that's quite a powerful option, honestly, for a new player. Coming in with Dr. Racio, grabbing Aventurine, trying to get Topaz, and then saving for Jade, that could be really strong. Just go IPC all the way. Let's go. Let's collect those taxes, So yeah, that's a strong option. Sam is also a Fire. They are both Fire DPS. So this is the question. As a new player, I think there's a lot of hype around Sam. Destruction, they're more blast damage focus, so they're very good for Memory of Chaos, and I think they're better generally than the hunts are for pure fiction. Sam could be very strong, very hyped up character, could be pretty powerful as well because of that, but probably not going to synergize as well with the Aventurine style, so that's something to bear in mind. Same thing with Jingliu. You don't have a strong synergy there. It's not bad by any means, he's still totally solid, but the synergy is not quite as strong. I'd be very interested to see who Sam synergizes with the best. Like, I feel like Luocha is quite nice as a destruction healer because he does so much healing, and a lot of these destruction guys are about giving up their own health and stuff like that. So Luocha is quite good there. But yeah, I think that's I don't see as a new player, considering that you cannot pick up all of these characters, you have to pick and choose. I don't see you free to play, certainly, going for both Topaz and Sam. I just don't think that makes sense. Two Fire characters. So I think you got to make that decision, right? Topaz looks attractive because of the follow-up synergy. Sam might be a bit more general. So that's a tough decision to make as well. I'm not quite sure which way I'm going. I've even heard that Robin might be focused on follow-up stuff, which is crazy. Let's actually talk about that then, the harmonies. Now, I've heard the game before called Harmony Star Rail, and that's definitely how I lean. I do think my perspective as a newer player, I do think that picking up one limited sustain is a really good option, preferably preservation. And then I think the harmony characters are extremely strong. Like the limited harmony are kind of insane. I picked up Sparkle. She's been incredible. She's quite a hyper carry focus character. Keep giving, the turn boosting and stat boosting to one single character. She's really good for that. Ron May is much more general, right? She boosts up your whole team generally. She also boosts up kind of break effects and stuff like that too. So she's very general. She is the best in slot right now for dot type teams. Though funny enough, I would probably expect dot type teams to probably get a more focused harmony at some point. That's kind of why I was wondering like Sunday could maybe be that. Something like a 5-star version of Ting Yun, right? Giving lots of energy and attack, which is, and just damage boosts as well, which is what the dot team likes. Probably something that is more tailored specifically to dot than Ron May is. Though I do expect in the future, we've got hyper carry, we've got dot, we have follow up. I do expect Ron May to be key really to break teams. Any teams building around break. I've heard that Boot Hill might be quite focused on that, which is an interesting one. But that's definitely something to bear in mind. I think that's quite a fun playstyle, focusing on breaking enemies and getting those effects out. She's going to be almost definitely best in slot for that for sure. And she's just extremely strong. So she is one that definitely draws my eye. I don't really like her personality, and her animations are pretty, but a little bit dull. So I'm not super drawn to Ron May, but from a pure power perspective, I've seen her called the best character in the game, and I can see why. These harmony characters are so strong. Like I've seen plenty of showcases with bad, like quote unquote bad DPS characters with these crazy harmonies, and they absolutely smash the content. Like the harmonies are super powerful for powering you up. So Ron May is definitely a high value one, and that's the question. If I'm predicting she's coming back pretty early, which is a bold choice. Yeah, it's a bold choice. I'm predicting it because I think she sort of competes with Robin. She might synergize well with Boot Hill. I think it makes sense to sort of, get people stressed out. In particular, in this video, I was predicting, because Sam is such a hyped character, putting him in with Ron May, that gets people like going, oh, wow, I kind of want both. They're both so hyped or so powerful. But yeah, Robin versus Ron May. I've heard Robin might be more focused on follow-up attacks. Again, there you've got the decision. I think I'm personally going to wait to see more info on Robin. Like when people actually get to test her out and we get to see videos, that's what I'm going to wait for. I'm going to wait to see comparisons between Robin and Topaz if they do come around the same time, which is fairly likely. And I'm going to be very interested with the Ron May as well. But I think Ron May is a great choice. And I think if you skip Robin, I think saving up for a Ron May in the future makes a heck of a lot of sense. And it's probably pretty big value to grab one of them. Yeah, it's probably pretty big value. So yeah, I'd definitely be looking at them. To touch on these other DPS, Zila is cool, but I don't think Zila would be a high priority pull at all. Quantum DPS, but I've seen that, Xing Shui can do, I think, almost as well as Zila. If you like Zila, cool. I think Zila's been a bit coolness crept by Acheron. But hey, it's up to you. I find her ultimate annoying as well, but it's up to you. Boot Hill is interesting. He's new, so he's probably going to be very powerful, but I think as a new player, I don't think a physical hunt character is high value. Simply because if you are like me and you're going for Aventurine, you've got a really strong like single target hunt with Dr. Racio and you're building around that. Certainly if you go for Topaz, there's another one. I don't think more hunt characters are a good idea. As far as I'm aware, from what I can tell, Pure Fiction gives the same amount of rewards as Memory of Chaos. So going too hard into hunt, I think it's going to slow you down in Pure Fiction. I don't think that's worth it. So I wouldn't be too keen on going for him. Although when I saw his splash art and stuff, when they teased it, I was like, he seems to, I don't know if that's for me. But then when we met him in the 2.1 story, I was like, okay, this might be my new favorite character. This guy's personality is absolutely amazing. He is hilarious. So yeah, but sadly, I don't think he's a high value pull. Blade, he's an interesting one. Destruction, quite easy to build. He could be one to look at when he comes back going forwards. I think he is a solid pickup for a new player. For me, unfortunately, I have Black Swan. And I also when I pull for Jing Yuan, I got an E6 Sampo. So I've kind of got wind on lockdown. It's kind of a pity because for me, Blade is actually, one of my favorite characters. I like, I don't, it's a bit of a bias. Obviously, I don't like the little girls too much, like, the Fu Xuans and Zilas of this world. Not too keen on those. I do like the edgy guys, right? I like Sam was cool in that sense, sort of. Blade was very cool, yeah, so that's a bit of a toss up. So I like Blade. He's a great one, but yeah, he is one to consider for sure. Not the strongest character, but apparently he's very easy to use. I think he's got absolutely sick animations and he's cool. He's badass. So Blade is nice, and I'm sad. I've actually got really good wind characters because I would like to potentially look at him. Though he's one of the older characters, and newer characters are probably a bit more strong. Argenti, I don't think Argenti is super high priority as an erudition. Very good for pure fiction. I love using Argenti, I will say, for farming calyxes, but I'm not super out of the way to get him. And then Jing Liu, who's coming up soon. I think Jing Liu is very solid. She's a good ice DPS. I'm a little bit biased because I don't like her character that much. I find her just actually a bit boring to both story-wise and also in terms of her playstyle. She gives herself a lot of stats for free. She's very good with the Herta simulated universe light cone, so she's a great free-to-play character to build up to do big damage. She is a very solid one to invest in as well. But yeah, I think she's a good option if you want ice DPS. She does synergize sort of mostly with, and she's skill point positive, or quite skill point. I don't know if she's positive, but she's good with skill points. She's very good with like Bronya, for instance, that you will eventually get at worst case scenario from your 300 pull selector from the regular warp. So I do think Jing Liu is a solid option, but like I said, for me, I think I'm going to focus more on building up a follow-up route because that's interesting. But then I'm also looking at Ron May as a potential like setting up, because I think building break focus teams without a Ron May is going to feel just kind of bad in the future, right? So Ron May is definitely drawing my eye. So yeah, broadly speaking, I'm very focused on harmony, preservation, and then getting a nice variety of what you find to be interesting and fun damage characters that cover a variety of elements and also will be good in both, give you coverage for both Memory of Chaos, but also pure fiction, and also any new game modes that come out in the future. It could happen. So that's sort of what I'm looking on. I mean, the other stuff here is a bit too far ahead to comment on too much, but we will see. We will see. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm leaning at. For me, right now, my plans are Aventurine, possibly Robin or Topaz. And then coming down here, I'm not sure. I think Jade, Sam, Ron May are all very strong options. If I go for Robin, might skip the Ron May, might skip Robin, grab Topaz, get Ron May, and then maybe try to get either Sam or Jade. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Of course, it's all very far in the future, but that's my plan. Let me know what you guys think. If you are a new player, what do you feel? If you're an experienced player, let us know. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. It's a new channel, so it makes a really big difference. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you all soon. Bye.